Okay, Year 10, I'm going to make a short YouTube video of the work that we're meant to be doing today in class. First of all, I want to direct you to the website, and you can see the website here, and this will be your go-to page. So this is week 9. Our learning intention, we are learning to graph complex quadratic functions. In our success criteria, I can identify a quadratic function and I can graph basic quadratic functions. Well, they won't be very basic. Some of these are going to be quite difficult. But I've also listed here 4 steps, and the 4 steps you need to be able to follow. Is it positive or negative? What is the y-intercept? Where is the vertex? Does it have roots? And we're going to use the discriminant to determine that. And if it does have roots, where are they? So let's have a look at the page in your booklet. Now, I know that your booklets are at school, but you can download this. I'm going to put a form of this on the web page. So at the bottom of the web page where I have the solutions, I will put the other file, which is just a blank page. So that'll be on the website today. So here we go, the quadratic functions. Let's go to the page. So there's our standard parabola equation. All right. Now, how do we draw one of these? Well, we need to remember that when it's written as y equals ax squared plus bx plus c, the A tells us the concavity. So if it's positive, it's concave up. If it's negative, it's concave down. The C tells us the y-int, the y-intercept. And the vertex will be when x equals negative b, so whatever that number, negative, change the sign, over 2a. And we'll do the quadratic formula and roots in a minute. But first, let's have a go at some of these easy ones. So the first one, I'll do it in red, y equals x squared. So you're going to have to excuse me because I use a mathemat usually to do these. So I'm going to have to do these freehand. So y equals x squared is just our standard positive parabola, and it looks something like that. That's the vertex is at the origin. It's concave up because there's a 1 in front of that x squared. So if I zoom in and say there's a 1 there, oh, that's really badly drawn. Yeah. Okay, so there's a 1 there, which is positive, which means it's concave up. Minus b on 2a, well, there's no b, so minus nothing is nothing, and on 2 times 1, so the vertex is at the origin. The vertex is at the origin when x is 0. Okay. The other one, y equals negative x squared, well, don't frown. Just turn that parabola upside down. Now, if I add or subtract something, that just moves it up or down. So if I go here and I'm looking at y equals x squared minus 2, I'm going to go, oh, that's just y equals x squared moved down 2. So that's at negative 2. But I need to find these roots. And you can see that's your C. I could write this as y equals x squared plus 0x minus 2. And you can see that the minus 2 is a y-intercept. The vertex is when x is 0. Well, that's minus 2. We've just worked that out. So how do I find these roots? I remember to find the roots, let y equals 0. And I get 0 equals x squared minus 2. I add the 2 over, x squared equals 2. We'll write it the other way, just in case you want. X squared equals 2. And then I square root. But remember, whenever I square root, I get two answers, a positive and negative answer. So that's root 2, and that's negative root 2. Okay. This one here, y equals negative x squared plus 1. Well, I want you to go and have a go at it. So pause the video, go and have a go at it, and then come back. Now, if you've had a go at it, this is what you should have got. It's just the negative x squared moved up 1. So this is the point 1. And again, to find these points, I just put it equal to 0. So I let y equals 0, and I get 0 equals x squared plus 1. Oh, there's a negative in front of that. I'll take the x squared over here, equals 1, and x equals plus or minus root 1, which is just plus or minus 1. So I get 1 and negative 1. Okay. When we get to these ones, now please remember that when you've got this, there's a 0 there, so the y-intercept is 0. It's a positive parabola because there's a 2 there, and it's a positive, so we know it's going to be concave up. We know it's going to go through 0. We could find the vertex, but it's going to be very, well, I'll go on, I'll find the vertex. So the vertex is minus b. Okay, so what's b? B is the number in front of there. So the vertex is x equals minus 1, because there's a 1 in front of that x, over 2 times a. Well, 2 times 2 is 4. X equals minus a quarter. Now, how do I find the y value? Oh, I put it in. I go, oh, y equals 2 times negative a quarter, put it in parentheses, squared, plus negative a quarter. And I get negative an eighth. If you put that in your calculator, that's what you'll get. Okay, so it's a positive parabola. When x is negative a quarter, I get the vertex. And when x is negative a quarter, I get y equals negative 8. So what have I got? So my graph, it's going to go through 0 when x is 0, y is 0. So it's going through 0, 0. And I've got here negative a quarter and negative an eighth. So it's really close. So it's going to look like, and it's pretty steep, that. But how do I find the roots? Well, to find the roots, we'll let y equals 0, and we get 2x squared plus x equals 0. I factorise out x, and I get 2x plus 1 equals 0. That means x equals 0, which we already knew, and we knew y equals 0. Or we get 2x plus 1 equals 0, which means x equals negative a half. And when I sub negative a half in, I should get 0 if I put it back into that equation. So that spot is negative a half. That spot is 0. And this, and I should label it, is negative a quarter and negative an eighth, the vertex. You go and have a go at this one on your own and then come back because I'm going to do it. So hopefully you've gone away and you've come back here, and I'm going to do it over here. First of all, y equals x squared minus 2x, or plus 4. Let's follow the steps. Is it positive or negative? Well, there is a 1 in front of there, so it's going to be concave up. The y-intercept, second step, is 4, so it's going to go through 4. So I'm going to go concave up, and it's going through 4. Okay, what else do I need to know? The vertex. How do I find the vertex? The vertex, x equals negative b on 2a. Well, look at my b. It's negative 2. Well, negative 2 over a is 1, 2 times 1. Oh, negative 2 is 2. You could do it on your calculator. And 2 times 1 is 2, and 2 divided by 2 is 1. So I get the vertex when x equals 1. And when x equals 1, y equals, just put it in, 1 squared minus 2 times 1 plus 4. Well, 1 minus 2 plus 4 is going to be 3. So I get a vertex at 1, 3. Oh, if the vertex is 1, 3, so I go over here, 1 and 3, this thing has no roots. There's the vertex. So I don't even need to do step 4. I don't even need to do step 4. I should label that vertex though. Vertex is 1 and 3. There it is, 1 and 3. Now, just to check, let's just check for roots. You don't need to, you've already sketched it, but we'll just check for roots using the discriminant. Now the discriminant in the quadratic formula, minus b plus or minus the square root, and I'm going to change colour here because this is the discriminant, b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. The discriminant is under the square root. That tells me everything I need to know, and I'm going to use a symbol for that discriminant, b squared minus 4ac. The symbol we use is like a triangle. Because if the discriminant, if what's under the square root sign is a positive number, i.e. it's greater than 0, we get 2 real roots. If the discriminant equals 0, we only get 1 root, but it's a double root, because I want you to keep thinking of these things in twos. A double root. It's only 1. And if the discriminant is less than 0, that means it's a negative number. We get 2 unreal or imaginary roots. So let's check the discriminant in our equation. So we'll go over here, we'll have a look at it. Y equals x squared minus 2x plus 4. Well, if we use a quadratic equation, or just the discriminant, b squared minus 4ac equals negative 2 squared, well, that's a terrible 2, squared minus 4 times a is 1 times c is 4, which gives me, well, negative 2 squared is 4 minus 16, which gives me negative 12. That is a negative number. That means I have 2 imaginary roots or unreal roots, because you can't find the square root of a negative number. It's an imaginary number. It's a complex number. It exists only in the imaginary world. So there are indeed no real roots. Okay. These two, have a go at them yourself. See how you go, and remember you can correct with Desmos. Now, go away, have a go. Now that you've gone away and had a go, see how you went. So let's just go through it again, and I'm going to write it over here. Y equals negative 2x squared plus 4x plus 6. We'll go through your steps. First of all, is it positive or negative? Well, this is a negative parabola. And it's pretty steep because 2 is a reasonably big number. So it's going to be a steep one. The y-intercept is 6. So it's going to go through 6. Now, straight away, I know there are going to be roots because if it's going through 6 and it's negative, it's going to have to cut the x-axis. So I know I'm going to have to find these. That's step 1, step 2. Step 3, what is a vertex? Well, I get the vertex. X equals minus b on 2a. Well, minus b is minus 4, and a is 2 times negative 2. I'll do that on my calculator, and I get 1. So when x equals 1, y equals minus 2 times 1 squared plus 4 times 1 plus 6. And you do that on your calculator. You do it on your calculator. And when you do it on your calculator, you get 8. Okay. So over here at 1 and 8. So about there. Remember, I'm not that fast. There's my vertex. And I know this parabola is pretty steep, so it's going to come down there, turn around there, and go back there. And if you can get that much done, you're going to get 3 out of 4, or 2 out of 3, depends what it's worth in the exam. You've got, or you better write the vertex, which is 1 and 8. We'll make sure we highlight that. There's a vertex, 1 and 8. You want the big marks, you've got to get the roots. Now, remember, if you can solve that quadratic by factorising, you'll be quicker. So anyone who's done 5.3 mathematics. But I'm going to use a quadratic equation. I'll do both. I'll do it. So I'm going to solve for y equals 0. So I get minus 2x squared plus 4x plus 6 equals 0. I'm going to divide everything by negative 2. X squared minus 2x minus 3 equals 0. I need two numbers that multiply out to negative 3 and add up to 2. Well, that's x plus 1, x minus 3, which means the roots are x equals negative 1 or x equals 3. And that's why the 5.3 kids have an advantage. But if you use a quadratic formula, x equals negative b. So I'm going back to the original equation, negative b, negative 4, plus or minus the square root of b squared. Okay, so 4 squared, always put it in brackets. B squared minus 4ac, so 4 times negative 2 plus 6 all over 2 times negative 2. Remember, you're going to get two answers here, and it's about time we pumped up our calculator. So we'll go the square root, and we'll use our parentheses, negative 4 squared minus 4, I've come out of there, got to get back in there, minus 4 times negative 2 times 4ac 6. That equals 8. 4 plus or minus 8 over negative 4. Okay, well negative 4 minus 8, negative 4 plus 8 is 4 over negative 4, which means equals negative 1, or negative 4 plus minus 8 is negative 12 over negative 4, which equals 3. So you still get the same answers if you can use a quadratic formula. Okay, the last one. Go away, have a go at it yourself. Remember, the solutions are at the bottom of the page, right? The solutions are at the bottom of the page. Follow your 4 steps. Okay, so you've gone away, you've had a go at it, you want to see if you're right. You should have gone to Desmos. You could go and use Desmos, which is a really cool way to check it, or you go to the solutions package at the bottom of the page. So what do we need to do? Y equals x squared minus x minus 4. Well, straight away, we know it's a positive parabola. So we'll go and write it over here. So y equals x squared minus x minus 4. So we know it's a positive parabola because there's a positive 1 there. We know it has a y-intercept of minus 4. So minus 4. It's going through there. So I know this thing has roots because it's a positive parabola. It's going to cut the x-axis. All right, next step, find the vertex. Well, the vertex is when x equals minus b, so minus minus 1, on 2a, so 2 times 1. Oh, so that's a half. Vertex of a half. When x equals a half, y equals a half squared minus a half minus 4. Oh, negative 4.5. You would do that on your calculator. So here's my vertex. And I shouldn't have put that negative 4 there because it's going to get in the way. So I'm going to put the negative 4 over here because when x is a half, we get, sorry, that's not a half, that's a quarter, negative 4.25. And I get that point there. There's my vertex. Let's make it blue. My curve is going to come down there and go there. That's pretty badly done. And my vertex is a half and negative 4.25. Beautiful. So all I've got to do is find these roots. Now, to find the roots, I'm just going to use a quadratic equation. So x equals, and what was my equation? Negative b, so negative 1, plus or minus the square root of b squared, negative 1, put it in brackets, minus 4 times a, that's a 1, times negative 4, all over 2 times a, which is 1. So I get 1 plus or minus the square root. And if I do all that, I get 17 on 2. Now, this is where you need to be smart. So you get 1 minus root 17 on 2. Oh, gee. Come on. 17 on 2. Or 1 plus root 17 on 2. And that's good enough for me, if you write that. And when you think about it, I could split that. That's a half minus root 17 on 2, or a half plus root 17 on 2, which makes perfect sense because it's the same distance either side of the vertex. Now you can get that as a decimal. So when I go back here, I've got 1 plus root 17 on 2. That's a positive 1. Now I get 1 minus root 17 on 2. And if you did those as a decimal, you get 2.56 and negative 1.56. And you put arrows on it, and there you go. Now, if you can do that, if you can get those things, you should be able to get the right curve, so concave up, concave down, the y-intercept, and the vertex. The only hard bit is getting the roots. Anyway, hopefully you did that. hopefully you're going to practice with some of those, and hopefully you're looking after yourself and your family at home.